want you to take a look at this image for 3 seconds. Look at the 2 circles. Which circle looks less blurry to you? The one on the left or the right? Now, what if I told you that both circles are exactly the same, and it's just your eyes playing tricks on you? In fact, I can prove to you that the 2 circles are equally as clear. Take a look at this. What you just saw is an optical illusion, making your eyes interpret the circles as being more or less blurry. This is an example of how our vision can fool you. Now, what if I told you? Well, I've got great news for you. That's exactly what you're about to discover in this short broadcast, including the unique 7-second salamander trick. So pay close attention. My friend David Cooper made a presentation that explains everything you need to know if you're suffering from fading eyesight. It's going to start in a few seconds.
This is a salamander, and in the next couple of minutes, but before we get to that, I've got to warn you, the special technique you're about to discover has been used successfully by over 14,000 regular folks just like you. And it's going to shock the living hell out of your family. And if you do watch until the very end of this short yet transformative broadcast, I'm going to give you the exact step-by-step system, including yours truly. Wouldn't that be a secret you love to gain access to? You see, the harsh reality is, when you were younger, your eyes went through this exact. You just never realized it because it happened on autopilot. The same way you don't have to think about breathing. And believe me, you've never seen anything like this before. So make sure you turn off all distractions and watch this video until the very end. But before we get to that, you must hear about my horror story. And I understand most people would instead tell you about all the research they've conducted, which I'll also get to. Don't worry. I'll even share the Nobel Prize winning research, but I know all you really want is a solution. And that's why you've got to hear about my story. See, it all started a little over a year ago when I walked into the maternity floor of the hospital, grinning from ear to ear as I welcomed my grandson to the world. I could feel the warmth of my daughter as she held baby Lucas tight. I could hear the doctors and nurses shuffling around, and when someone placed my beautiful new grandson into my arms, a rush of emotions flooded my body. But when my daughter asked me, "Doesn't he look just like you?" I had no choice but to lie. "He's so handsome," I said. But the truth was, and while this should have been the happiest moment in my entire life, my thoughts were filled with heartache. Hi, my name is David Cooper, and that was the saddest moment of my life. Truthfully, the only reason I'm willing to even share this with you is because while I didn't know it at the time, that day in the delivery room, the moment I thought my life was consumed by darkness is what would eventually lead me to do something. This may sound like utter BS to you, but as you're about to find out during this presentation, research from prestigious universities like Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and others, and it's already being used by a small handful of men and women all across the US. All thanks to what they discovered inside this video. So let's get started. Because right now, I want to share the story, give you all the science behind how it works, then share with you the exact steps you should start taking right away.
So like I said, my name is David Cooper. Where I really hit the jackpot was when I met the love of my life, Barbara. And together we had 2 beautiful children, Ashley and Melissa. Raising the kids with my wife and keeping our marriage strong, well, it was hands down the greatest thing to ever happen to me. And I thank the Lord for all the precious moments and wonderful years that He gave to me and my family. That is why when I got the news that my daughter Ashley was pregnant and that I'd finally get to be a grandpa, I thought to myself, well, maybe God does have a plan for me after all. But then there was that day in the hospital when I held my precious grandchild of mine for the very first time, felt his tiny little chest rising up and down, sucking in air. And Lucas would probably grow up thinking Grandpa was just some old forgetful lunatic, someone he had to be nice to and respect. But I could already imagine him arguing with his parents and not wanting to go over to Grandpa's house because he's so old and boring. Just the thought of it broke my heart, to the point where I knew I had to do something about my vision. And the more I thought about it, the more I came to grips that I really only had 2 options. The cold hard truth that I'd probably be moved into a nursing home sooner than I'd like. When my daughter drove me back home that afternoon, I grew sad and lonely again because it really didn't seem like there was any hope for my eyes at all. And I even remember thinking to myself that I was being foolish for even thinking that, because it really would take a miracle. But that same evening, the Lord must have been listening to me as I said all of this, because not even 2 weeks later, a miracle fell right into my lap, even though I didn't recognize it at first. I remember it like it was yesterday. Summer was just around the corner, and my nephew Robert asked if he could come stay at my house for a month or two. Robert had just finished up 7 years in the Marines, and he wanted to move back home to Texas, but hadn't found a place to stay yet, and considering the fact I was living all by myself and had nothing going on in my life, jumped at the chance to have the young man as a guest. So that's exactly what he did. Robert came to stay with me, and he was such a sharp young man. I felt so proud of him and grateful to the Marines for helping mold him into who he's become. Not a day went by where Robert wouldn't help me out around the house, drive me to town to do errands, and just generally be a pleasure to spend time with. He also made it a daily ritual around dinner time to start reading me news articles from his smartphone, which was really nice of him, because while I still had my hearing and could listen to the news, it was way more fun when he did it, and we could discuss the stories and what they meant. We passed a lot of evenings that way. But then one evening in early August, Robert came across a story on his phone that instantly caught both of our attentions. It couldn't believe what Robert was telling me. There it was in plain view. Why was this the first time I was hearing about this? Yet, as excited as I felt at first, I told myself not to get carried away, because something that happened in a laboratory is one thing, but that doesn't mean it'll be available for everyday folks like me anytime soon. Plus, even if it did ever become available to the public, something so groundbreaking would probably cost hundreds of thousands of dollars anyways, or have an endless wait list. So I told my nephew it was exciting, but that I didn't want to get my hopes up. He went silent for a few seconds, which led me to believe this article was a lead he was going to investigate. A few evenings went by where Robert locked himself in the guest room instead of reading articles to me from his smartphone. I had no clue what he was doing at first, and it worried me slightly. But a couple days later, he sat down at the kitchen table and he told me, "Look, Uncle Dave, this stem cell stuff looks pretty promising. I really think you should know about this." Then, before I could even say a word, Robert started talking. And pay close attention to what he said, because this is where it all began, where I finally realized that, see, as my nephew Robert explained, it turned out that article wasn't baloney. In fact, they've been conducting these experiments on animals instead of humans. The good news is that a pig's eye is almost identical to the human eye. Much to my surprise, this was already happening. It was something a few lucky people were blessed to experience. It was difficult for me to not feel excited hearing about all this, but again, I didn't keep my expectations high, because it had already taken more than a decade. Didn't have a clue what the answers would be. And I felt almost like God was testing me. Because while everything I was hearing, once again, I felt like I was getting ahead of myself and that I should just drop it before I got my hopes up. But like clockwork, the Lord had other plans for me. This time, my nephew had an old buddy in town, a friend of his from the Marines named Alex. And one chilly evening, we invited him over to my house for dinner. For most of the night, it was nice enough to exchange small talk. I asked my nephew's buddy Alex what he did in the Marines, and he said he was a herpetologist, a special kind of department who studied amphibians in the Office of Marines Research. And so we talked about his line of work and why he got into it. But after a while, the couple talked for what seemed like the entire night about it. I began to wonder if he was boring our guest because I didn't hear him say a word the entire time. But then Alex finally opened his mouth, and what he said surprised the hell out of me and my nephew. Super interesting, sort of like what the salamander does. Neither me nor Robert had a clue what he was talking about, so we asked him. And that's when Alex told us about a type of amphibian that lives under rocks near creeks, ponds, and lakes all throughout the United States called the salamander. And that it's been documented several times over. My jaw dropped as Alex told us all of this, because while I knew he was a biologist, I'd never heard that the salamander could do this. To be quite frank with you, I didn't even know what a salamander was until this day. Now, I was pretty skeptical about it all, so I asked my nephew to look up the salamander on his smartphone and see if all of this was true. And to my surprise, Robert reported back that everything he said about the salamander was 100% true. As a matter of fact, new research published in Frontiers in Cell and Developmental Biology were already studying salamander intensely. The Smithsonian published an article stating salamanders can even regenerate spinal cords, eyes, and parts of their brains. And it turned out that scientists have begun expensive experiments to study the salamander and had already claimed that not only does this little amphibian hold, it's actually amazing. I asked Alex how the salamander did all of this. I'm pretty sure he shrugged. He said something like, "I'd win the Nobel Prize if I knew the answer. Honestly, I have no idea. It probably has to do with their diet or something." After that, we ended the conversation. But what he said struck a chord in me. Even though Alex was joking around about the salamander's diet, it sort of made sense to me. Because when we humans eat healthy food rich in vitamins and nutrients, at least that's what my doctor tells me. So I thought, what if the salamander's eating something that lets them... No, it sounded like a long shot, but heck, what did I even have to lose? So once again, I asked my nephew a favor and look into the salamander's diet in the wild, just in case one of those foods they ate had some correlation. Felt like a desperate Hail Mary attempt, but I had nothing to lose. And so the next morning, before the sun was even up, Robert sprinted into my room with his laptop on his forearm, telling me to come to the kitchen table because I wouldn't fathom the discovery he'd just found. You see, what he'd found out was that in the wild, salamanders eat a highly carnivorous diet and will eat all types of live critters, and as Robert had uncovered, their unique diet is packed with a nutrient called aminoethane sulfonate. This antioxidant is a nutrient found largely in mealworms and insects, which salamanders love to eat. Now, the reason this mattered, Robert said, is because when he started looking into this rare nutrient, he quickly found that in a major study published in the Journal of Stem Cell Research, they'd found that when they fed mice a diet high in aminoethane sulfonate, when I heard about all of this, my jaw dropped. You see, it turned out that aminoethane sulfonate was just one of the nutrients the salamanders eat in the wild. But there were several others too, and sure enough, Robert discovered that in almost every single case, the ingredients that the salamander loved to eat every day in the salamander's diet is something called zeaxanthin, which I'd never heard of before, but it's apparently a carotenoid and it's found in certain types of shrimp shells and fish skin, which all happen to be things that the salamander loves to eat. As Robert dug further into this, he discovered that in a brand new study published by the National Institutes of Health, NIH, it's even more impressive. In another major clinical study, this one published in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences, where a team of scientists dissected zeaxanthin in every way possible to get a better understanding behind how it works, and guess what they found? Scientists specifically mentioned that zeaxanthin increased what are called neuroprogenitor cells, and those are the same kind of stem cells. Now I was getting chills. Since, of course, the salamander's diet is filled with aminoethane sulfonate and zeaxanthin, there was a clear connection at play. The crazy part is we were still just getting started, because Robert found at least 3 more brand new studies, all published in peer-reviewed journals, when we dug even deeper, including a big 2016 study that was published in the Annual Review of Nutrition. The cold, hard scientific evidence was right there in front of us. At that moment, I finally allowed myself to get excited and to believe that just maybe, Robert and I agreed that we should find a way to combine the ingredients we'd been studying together in the same dosages as from the studies, then start testing them to see if they had any effect on my vision at all. So that's what we did. We started looking for a way to get aminoethane sulfonate and zeaxanthin from overseas, the same exact type that the salamanders ate. And in addition to those 2 ingredients, we also started looking for a high-quality source of lutein, which is another carotenoid, like zeaxanthin, that is already very well known to protect your eyes. Turns out this ingredient is found in the insects that the salamander eats too. And what we quickly realized through doing more research is that when you get this nutrient from natural, bioavailable sources, instead of in their synthetic form, which is how they appear in most vision supplements you see online for sale, lutein has been shown to support the body's production of adult repair stem cells too. So that brought our list of proven stem cell producing ingredients to the following: aminoethane sulfonate, zeaxanthin, and lutein. And then we added even more ingredients to the list, things like Euphrasia officinalis, grapeseed extract, bilberry extract, quercetin, and rutin. And the reason why we added those is because we also found a ton of research showing that once we had our complete list of ingredients, asking them with the sole purpose of combining these ingredients into a single pill form, something that was easy to swallow yet extremely effective. We were also extremely careful about the production process, obsessing over the quality, bioavailability, and purity of these ingredients. We tested the formulations day and night, until finally, and spending pretty much every single waking hour in the lab we rented here in Dallas, we had something we were ready to test. It was a single pill that contained scientifically proven doses of each and every one. All I could do was keep my faith in God. Then the moment of truth finally came. So on a cool November morning, after that, all I could do was wait and pray to the Lord that I would see any improvement in my dying eyes. A full day went by, nothing. Then 2 days, then 3 days, still no signs, at least nothing noticeable. But still, I'd been hoping for an instant fix, especially after all the hard work and money I've put into it, so I couldn't help but wonder if maybe I'd been a fool to even try. When I mentioned it to Robert, though, how much I'd been feeling down in the dumps, he just about smacked me back into reality and told me of course it was going to take a bit of time and to place my faith in God. So that's exactly what I did. I remained vigilant and kept taking my pill day after day. And that's the moment when I realized the first time I saw my grandson Lucas, I mean really saw him, his big brown eyes, that warm smile. Well, I just couldn't hold back my tears, and I'm not even embarrassed to say it. We're extremely careful about the production process and only use the purest and most bioavailable forms of each nutrient. This was crucial because we realized that while there already were other supplements out there that contained some of the ingredients we discovered, I wanted to make sure that in our case, we were delivering to people the most effective. We decided to call our discovery Visisoothe because that's what it does. Now you're probably asking how you can get your hands on Visisoothe for yourself, along with how often you need to take it for best results. To be honest, it's actually still very difficult for the general public to get Visisoothe. They're carefully inspected for purity and quality before finally being transformed into a single beautiful capsule, something that retains all of these ingredients' freshness and potency. It's a truly amazing process, But it's also extremely expensive and time-consuming to do all of this, which is why each batch of Visisoothe can take up to 3 months to custom create. On top of that, pretty much everyone who uses it keeps on asking for more of the stuff. As a result of the fact that Visisoothe is expensive to manufacture, takes up to 3 months to produce a single batch, and keeps selling out, we frequently don't have any Visisoothe available for folks. But that being said, which is why in the next few moments, I'll share how you can get your hands on a brand new bottle of Visisoothe. Though, let me go back to that other question of how much Visisoothe you need to take. That's simple. Just take 2 capsules each day for at least 30 days. Though frankly, you'd probably end up wanting to take it a lot longer than that anyways. So it just makes sense to keep taking Visisoothe again and again, which is why most medical experts recommend you choose at least 3 bottles of Visisoothe and 6 bottles of Visisoothe if you want to be completely safe. You should know that Visisoothe is only available on the website while there are supplies in stock and we're able to stay in business. I don't want you to wait on taking action and reclaiming your life with Visisoothe, while allowing you to retain your independence and freedom. For sure, you can understand why I originally said $149 per bottle, which honestly I think is extremely fair. It's considering that there is only one supplement manufacturing facility in the entire world that has the capabilities to make Visisoothe, and that each capsule contains the purest and most bioavailable forms of these stem cell activating ingredients. $149 really is a steal. But despite all of that, this isn't about making a profit for me or my nephew. But ultimately, our mission is to help people. We don't want money, which means that we think everyone needs to be able to access Visisoothe. That's why if you act right now and make the life-changing decision to join the 14,000 plus men and women before you, you can get your hand on Visisoothe for just $69 per bottle. And actually, that's just the start. I understand that stopping vision loss and healing your eyes isn't just important to you, it's also important to your family and loved ones. And Robert and I have created a special discounted package plan where you can get 6 bottles of Visisoothe for just $49 per bottle. This special discounted package is only being offered to you today and only while supplies last. Plus, you'll also get free shipping today, which is a $9.99 value. But both the special multi-bottle discount and the free shipping are limited. When we run out of bottles of Visisoothe again, it will take up to 3 months before another batch is available. So click the 6-bottle package, or any other package you choose, below this video right now to secure your order. This is truly one of the smallest but most important investments that you'll ever make in your health and well-being. Okay, so at this point, you're probably thinking that this all sounds really exciting, and you're asking, how do I get started? Just click the button below right now and choose the package of Visisoothe that's best for you. You'll then go to the secure checkout page where you'll enter your order details, and within just 5 business days from now, you'll receive Visisoothe to your front door. So go ahead and click the button below now to secure Visisoothe while there are still bottles in stock. This should be an absolute no-brainer because you're also covered by a 60-day 100% money-back guarantee. But if for any reason you're not happy with your results using Visisoothe, simply email or call my US-based customer service team 24/7, and we will give you a prompt and immediate refund with 0 questions asked. You have nothing to lose here. So go ahead and click one of the buttons you see below now. This presentation is now ending, and the ultimate decision is yours by reclaiming your vision and clicking one of the buttons you see below this video. Right now, you can get Visisoothe for just $69 per bottle, and for even less than that if you get one of my more popular packages. When supplies of Visisoothe run out though, it'll be 3 months until we get more in. Price goes back up to $149 per bottle so that we can at least break even instead of losing money with each bottle we sell, which is what's happening now. All of which means you really must act now. You can play a large part in achieving this noble goal and receiving your order of Visisoothe to your front door in just a few short days from now. It's your decision, but this is your last chance. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless. Sincerely, David Cooper.